You got to change this program that food is sacred. You got to clean that up. You've got to get that program out. If it doesn't count if you put less food on your plate. Say, well, what if I just put less food on my plate? I said, you're not fixing the problem. The problem is this emotional charge you have in and around food. Period. The emotional charge about throwing food away. If somebody said, well, what if I just put less food? It doesn't fix the problem. The problem is that emotional connection you have with food. The emotional sin of throwing food away. That you're going to get spanked, you're ungrateful, whatever it is that you're doing inside you, wasteful, because, at one time, you didn't throw food away. Matter of fact, you didn't have food to throw away. When I was a kid, I was the oldest of 6 kids, and, food didn't come that easy. But the deal is, you're not 6 years old anymore. You're not a little kid, and you can throw it away. And the only reason why we want to throw it away is because that way you won't eat it, which takes more work. Eating it and then trying to work your tail off to get it back off, or just throwing it away. It's cheaper, less work, less effort, just to throw the food away. But you know what keeps you eating it? That unconscious program that's making you eat it. The hypnotist in your life, which is your parents, programmed you that it's sacred, you're going to get in trouble. Like my friend Randy said, he told his dad he didn't like pork chops. His dad backhanded him and said, boy, I worked 2 jobs, put that pork chops on your table, and you're going to eat every dadgum bit of it. The little girl who said she didn't like beans, they said, well, you're going to eat beans, and that's all you're going to eat. You're going to clean this plate. It took her 3 days to clean that plate. They wouldn't feed her nothing else. The emotional trauma in and around food is big. The abuse in and around food. And that's why food is such an emotional powerhouse. And if you start to notice what's going on in your world around food, it is a giant entity, a monster. And it's controlling your life and destroying your life. And once you break this emotional charge, you will be so free. That means you could still eat the stuff, but you will not eat it because you're being controlled at the unconscious level. That's the key. I think last week, Linda, you remember what, Linda, you said, this was my last addiction. You remember?
Well, one of the last foods I gave up was red licorice, and so one of the things is my mom used to control my eating, and so I could only eat a certain amount of things. Like I'd get a few potato chips, and red licorice was the one thing that I could get away with, and I could just eat it, and so I didn't ever want to tap on it, and the reason why is because I felt like I was losing control, because then it would be like giving my mom the control. And so I tapped on that last week, and I really got a new freedom, that is for sure, that, it doesn't control me anymore. And to tell you the truth, I had an emotional trigger today, and I thought, oh, I sure would like to eat something. And then there was I couldn't even think of any pleasurable food that I could actually escape with. So obviously it worked.
Yeah. So now you can just tap on the emotion instead.
Yes, that's exactly what I did.
All right. Now share about the other one, the ice cream one.
Oh, my ice cream one. I had a slight addiction to ice cream dipped in chocolate, and DQ was my favorite one. And so I used to drive into Texas, and there's a Dairy Queen. I don't know if you guys know where it is. I know that you spot these. Yeah, I know you do. See, there's other people in this room. And so I would stop on the way as soon as I got there. That would be the first thing I did. It was like my treat of driving. And then when I came back into Oklahoma, right before I left Texas, I would stop there. But somebody did tell me there was a DQ at Tinker, over by Tinker. I don't know. You guys might want to check that out. But
you're a pusher. You're trying to make people addicted.
And so when I tapped on that, I didn't want to tap on it. And so, in fact, I got a Brahms. In fact, Sue over here, Sue Tar, she was the one that showed me that they had chocolate dip at Brahms. And Oh, yeah, after we tapped, then we'd go and eat. Uh-huh. And then, and so I had that, and it's like I almost ate the whole thing before I got here, and I left very little bit. In fact, I was bound and determined that this tapping would not work on it. And I thought, no, I'm just not, it's not going to ever go away. And I'm going to love this stuff forever. And I tapped on it, and all of a sudden the chocolate tasted like wax, and that it just didn't taste good anymore. And, and today, I mean, chocolate's not ever a real big deal in my life, but I don't eat that much chocolate. If I eat some, it's just very little. And I do have a choice today. It has given me a freedom, and that food does not control my life. Even that red licorice, it's gone. And really, I have and it is a true freedom, a new freedom for me.
Did you really give it up, though?
Did I give it up? Licorice?
I mean, you said, the last thing to give up was the red licorice. Did you really give it up?
Did I give it up? Yeah, I gave it up.
No, you could still eat it.
Yeah, I could still eat it, but it doesn't have that same emotional drive.
But the real drive was that you were trying to prove that you can eat
that
it.
I could be in control.
But you weren't.
But I was out of control. Yes, I got that.
That's crazy, isn't it?
It is. I knew it was crazy, but I didn't want to do it.
And some of you in this class, we were talking about tapping on your food. Some of you say, "I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it." And the reason is because it is controlling you. You don't have a choice. That's the sad part. But you think you're in control. But the moment you break that emotional bond, whatever that is with that food, you truly get freedom. You get the freedom to choose. Because, the lady who said, "I can't have chocolate in my house. I can't," matter of fact, she said, in the middle of the night, my sons would go to Halloween and they'd have Valentine's candy, and I tell them, "Go hide it in your room. Go hide it." And she'll wake up from a dead sleep, flashlight in hand, looking for that chocolate in her kid's room. She said it can't be in the house. And so she flew all the way from, I don't know where, not Arkansas, but somewhere far away. And she booked booked this hotel, and guess what they put on the pillow? They thought I was doing it to her. But it had so much power over her. She had no power. Now, guys, don't you think that's kind of crazy? That it controls you? So I want to cover something that's really important. There is no escape. One of the things I'm a modeler. A modeler means I can look at something, I can figure out how it works, I can teach other people how to do it. I can break it down, how it works, what's going on, and know the mechanics of what does and doesn't work. That means when I'm teaching a seminar, how to make the changes, I can break it down to the simplest problem. Okay, so I have individuals who have this problem, addiction, doesn't matter what the addiction is. What's the difference in an alcoholic, a workaholic, a foodaholic, a drug addict, a smoker, a TV-aholic, a bookaholic, a controller? What's the difference in all those things? Only the substance. All right. So what I call individuals who cannot deal with their emotions are avoidaholics. They cannot deal with what's inside, so they look for anything to avoid what's inside, grabbing anything outside. Now, some people say, "Hey, I'm just flexible. If there's not any food around, I'll smoke. If there's not any food around, I'll drink. If there's not any food or drink, I could do this, or I could just do anything," because they're flexible enough and realize that there is some kind of escape, which there is really no escape, but one. What is the escape? Now, you realize here it is. You have, just like Linda, she was sharing, she said, well, there were some emotional things going on, and she's been tapping on her emotional escapes, which is really no escape. And so she's been tapping on it. She's having this feeling inside. The mind says, go eat something. It'll make you feel better to avoid what you feel. So here it is. You have this stressor or emotions or something inside you want to avoid. What do? Well, if you're a foodaholic, you'll go over and you'll eat something, right? And if you're an alcoholic, you'll drink. Now, of course, when I say food, that also represents soda. And if you're a smoker, you just go smoke. If you're a drug addict, you'll drug. You'll use drugs, D-R-U-G-S, drugs. And if you're a bookaholic and you use books to escape the world, you'll read a book. If you're a TV-aholic, a lot of people zone out and they go home. They just sit in front of TV. They vegetate. They don't even know what's going on in the world because they don't know how to deal with what's inside. So they'll read a book or watch TV. And if sex is one of your favorite pleasures, you'll call your neighbor up, call your wife up, whatever. 2 weeks. Oh, I said TV. Oh. Well, I said TV over here. Or it could be porn too. It could be internet. It could be just anything, you know. Because inside of us, we have a bad feeling. And since you have no skills of addressing your emotions and feelings, what do? You always look outside to find your solution. But in reality, let's say, for example, you're stressed out about your job and your boss, and there's a coworker there that just irritates you, and the boss has laid these heavy rules on you, and here you are, you're stressed. What do? Well, you'll go eat you something, you know. Then you come right back here to think about the boss, what he did, and guess what? It's still there. So then you say, oh, shoot, I still feel stressed. I'm still upset. I'm emotionally hurt. So you go smoke or drink or drug, sex, TV, book, soda, whatever. But when you go right back to the real problem, it hasn't changed. Now here's the craziest part. You could join a group and they say, I'm a foodaholic and always will, and that's just how it is. I'm an alcoholic. I've always been an alcoholic. That's how I am. I'm a drug addict. I'll always be a drug addict. There's nothing I can do about it. That's just how I am. Now what does that mean? That means drink, alcohol, food is almighty and all-powerful. As a matter of fact, there's nothing you can do about it. Isn't that true? So it gives value where? Everywhere but one place. In here. Stress and emotions. If you do not know how to change how you feel, you're always going to be controlled by external problems, issues. So the deal is this class is really addressing what you do inside you, changing the emotions and the feelings. If you don't know how to change them, you will try to find your escape. And guys, there's only one escape. What is that escape? Go inside, feel it, identify it, and release it. Release it means tap that sucker away until it's gone. Change what it means inside you. Period. If you don't change it, it doesn't matter what you do. And you could buy you a name tag. My name is Joe, and I'll always be an alcoholic. My name is Joe, and I'll always be a foodaholic. My name is Susan, and I'll always be a sex... I mean, there's all kinds of groups that you can join. And you know what? The belief behind these groups are, there's not a darn thing you can do about it. Tough it up, suffer, come back, we'll cry together, get strong, and it'll always be there. Now, I don't believe that to be true. Matter of fact, I know it's not true. Because I know that you give meaning to the food. Now, what's the difference if this table was full of every drug you could think of, every wonderful smelling food, every addictive whatever? Linda can come in and she says, well, I really just don't care about whatever that is on there. And yet, Rita will come in and say, oh my God, I love myself. And she's sitting over here thinking about it. And she's pacing back and forth, and she goes, oh my God, what am I going to do? I can smell it, I can see it. And then in her mind, she's having all these feelings. And yet Becky says, big deal. I don't even like spaghetti. I don't even care for bread. But Patricia says, chocolate. Oh. Emmy, what's the difference? The difference is the meaning you give to it. Now, how did you get the meaning? Remember we shared. How do you get the meaning? It's emotions associated to individuals, peoples, and unconscious programming from your parents, from your culture, and a belief system. So there's only one way out, guys. Now, some of you say, hey, I have some changes, but I'm not losing any weight. I said, your problem is not weight right now. Your problem is being in control of your life. Now, Stephanie, I don't know if some of you may have seen Stephanie. If you'll see it on one of the videos, if you bought one of the videos, she and Michelle both lost over 100 pounds apiece. Stephanie said, when I first started this weight loss class, I started tapping on my physical pain. So she started getting rid of her pain. Then she started addressing on her emotions. She said, I lost about 12 pounds. And then I kept dealing and addressing my other emotional issues. And then I started working on the weight issues. Guys, the issue is not the weight. It's a symptom. And why is it a symptom? It's because inside here you have no coping skills. Now you can address the programming. That means if you have cookies and you're trying to find cookies when you're stressed and emotionally upset, and you keep looking for it whenever you're stressed and emotionally upset, you can address that. And just like Linda, she said, well, I've already tapped all my comfort foods, and now what am I going to do now? I have this feeling. Well, I guess I should tap. I mean, it saves you driving across town. I mean, it gives you the freedom to change. But if you leave the emotional driver in the food, you think it's the food that's going to solve your problems. Now, I will tell you this. Food doesn't care for you. It doesn't like you. Love is not in the ingredients. There is no joy, no peace, nothing in it. But there are chemicals. Chemicals that will never solve your problem. As a matter of fact, they put chemicals in there so you will be addicted. So that way their pockets get bigger. And they'll have these slogans, we care for you, please buy more. Does that make sense? Now, didn't I cover the 2 miles?